Well, it's known that the heart contains neurons, and which many call the little brain in the heart, and you mentioned neurocardiology. Do you believe that the heart may exhibit its own consciousness?
Yes, I think that the heart is really the entry point in the human system where higher consciousness merges with our humanness in a sense. We've also done interesting research showing that the heart plays a role in the intuitive response. We did a study that was published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine, a very large and detailed study, showing that test subjects who were looking at a computer screen that would be putting up random images, some of which were beautiful, some of which were horrific. We saw that these test subjects would often have a physiological response that would be associated with the upcoming picture 6 seconds prior to the time the picture actually emerged. Now, when we analyzed that data and really got down into the details of it, we found out that the first responder in that process was actually the heart. It preceded the response that took place in the brain. And so, looking at it from a consciousness perspective, I think that the heart acts like a bioreceptor, a sensing device in a way, that's allowing us to access intelligence that goes beyond the logical linear intelligence that we operate our normal days with, which could be described as consciousness or spirit or higher self. A lot of different terms are used to try to depict this larger field of consciousness that we all play in. To me, the heart plays a central role in accessing this consciousness, which is then transmitted at very high speed to the brain where we experience it in our thoughts and in our feelings and what we see and those kind of things. But to me, the entry point in the human system for this higher state of consciousness is in fact heart.
So what do you feel is the most exciting piece of research that HeartMath has done so far?
Well, I think the story of the heart and the brain communicating and how the heart is more than a blood pump is certainly a very exciting part of HeartMath's research. We've done a lot of social science research as well, showing that when people practice heart-focused techniques like we teach in our training programs, that there are huge changes that can occur in an individual psychologically and in organizations collectively. This is also very exciting because what it shows, Kerry, is that we have the ability to learn how to access this intelligence found in the heart, and that when we do, it has a practical outplay in how we think and how we feel and how we relate to one another. And it has a lot to do with how organizations function and ultimately, to me, how society itself can function from a more heart-centric place. There are huge benefits to that, and I think that research, combined with the biophysical research, is very, very exciting because it's painting a new picture, as I said earlier, of heart, showing that as we direct our lives more from the heart, not in a mushy or sentimental way, but in a very practical and pragmatic way, we can live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives.
So what implications do you think that HeartMath's research has for mainstream science in general?
Well, mainstream science, I think there's new understanding of the physical heart that's important. A lot of cardiologists, they're trained in certain areas of cardiology, and that's what they use in their practices over and over again. So it's important understanding that they have. They have a lot to say about how we maintain the health of our physical heart. But for example, in mainstream science, an area that they don't know as much about is called heart rate variability analysis. And that is the underpinning of a lot of HeartMath's research. Heart rate variability analysis has been around for a long time, and there are literally thousands and thousands of research papers on heart rate variability. It has a lot to do with looking at the health and synchronization of our autonomic nervous system. It's also used to look at the health of the physical heart. We lose heart rate variability when we get older, so it's being used as a measurement of aging. It can also be looked at as a source of all-cause mortality. In other words, when heart rate variability decreases, it puts us at risk for a lot of other diseases. So heart rate variability research is something that I think we've brought to the forefront, and I think that mainstream science is benefiting greatly from that. And again, it's not that we're the only ones that know about heart rate variability. It's been around for a long time. It's just that cardiologists now are beginning to see its importance, as well as even behavioral medicine people that can use heart rate variability analysis as a way of looking at the emotional state of the people they're treating. So these are among many things that I think we are contributing to mainstream science and medicine.
Your new project is called the Global Coherence Initiative. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Sure, I'd love to tell you about the Global Coherence Initiative. This is one of the areas that we're working in now. It's extremely exciting to me personally. You see, for a long time, ever since I was a young man, actually, I wondered, I actually had thoughts about how would the world change? How can we actually change the way this world operates? And I realized that it would have to be from a change in the consciousness field itself. In other words, to me, there's this consciousness field that we all play in, and we draw our perceptions of life and perceptions of what is right and what's wrong and what's truth and what isn't and what's real and what isn't, all from this consciousness field. And that has a lot to do with how society functions and how the world functions. But I recognize that if we wanted to make major changes in all those things, it would have to start at the consciousness field itself. That's a very difficult thing to measure. Nobody really truly understands how to measure that yet. Quantum physics gets into the edges of it, but no one understands really how to measure this consciousness field yet. But there's been a belief for thousands and thousands of years that there are prayers, and there are meditations, and there are intentions. All those things are having an impact. We believe this, which is why we'll pray for someone when they're sick, or we'll meditate for world peace. Things like that are natural to many, many people. We do it all the time. But there's never been any real dynamic proof, or not enough, let's put it that way, dynamic proof that these things actually work. So with the Global Coherence Initiative, we formed a membership organization. Membership is free. You go to the Global Coherence Initiative website, which the URL for that is glcoherence.org. You become a member. Now, at the time that we're doing this interview, we have well over 10,000 members now. I think we're at 10,500 members now. We've done this in a very short amount of time. Members are then given access to webinars that we do that are educational and informative. For instance, a month or so ago, I did one with Greg Braden. We had 3,000 registrants for that webinar. We do webinars on how to increase coherence. We also give access to scientific information about some interesting things I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And we're also forming community between like-minded people who really want to make a difference in the world through the utilization of their heart-focused care and intention. So this is what the project's really about, is how do we bring more people together around the world, groups and individuals, to work together to use, again, something we all can do, the power of our hearts, to actually create changes in the consciousness field. Now, this is something that a lot of people are doing, and there are many, many groups around the world, and we want to partner with them. I can say that we know for sure that we have members in the Global Coherence Initiative today in 57 countries. So it is certainly a global organization. Now, at HeartMath, we've always had a very scientific approach to everything that we've done. So we've added a scientific component to this work, and I think it's a valuable component to add because, again, there are many groups doing great things in this area. But to give it measurement, to give it substance, I think will give it a new level of belief and a new level of groundedness. So we have developed, our researchers at HeartMath, in consort with others, have developed a technology that can measure subtle changes in the Earth's fields. The Earth has a couple of fields. One is called the ionosphere, which is a field that operates above the atmosphere out into space, a very plasma-like field, a very malleable and changing field. The Earth also produces a geomagnetic field, which is produced by from the core of the Earth. It's what compasses measure. And these fields are there to protect us from external things happening in space, like solar radiation and solar wind and things like that. But we have a hypothesis is that mass human emotion, whether positive or negative, actually impacts those fields. The reason we believe that is simply this. We know that the fields already impact us. There's a growing body of research now showing that changes in the geomagnetic field of the ionosphere can be correlated with things that happen on Earth, like terrorist attacks, health issues, crime issues, traffic issues, things like that. So there are correlations already being drawn. We also know that some of the frequencies produced by the human heart and brain are in exactly the same range as some of the frequencies you find in the ionosphere. So we know there's an energetic link between human beings and the field. That much we know. But what about the energetics we put out collectively? Could they actually be impacting and changing the fields? We believe it's possible. And so a part of the Global Coherence Initiative is to place 12 of these sensor sites around the world to get a really good, complete picture of the Earth's geomagnetic fields and ionosphere. We'll correlate our information with data taken from U.S. government satellites that look at the fields from out in space. and then add another component, which is random number generator analysis, a system that's developed by Dr. Roger Nelson at Princeton University. And what we'll be doing is correlating information from all these various data inputs, learning about these fields, learning about how they affect us, and then we'll be bringing together the Global Coherence Initiative community to begin to do experiments to see if over time we can actually show that conscious intention has a measurable impact on the Earth itself. And a great comment made by one of our board members, and there are many people supporting this, by the way, well-known people. One of those is Jack Canfield, the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series. And Jack said in a meeting one day, he said, this is perhaps the biggest and most important experiment in the history of the world, to show that our thoughts and our feelings actually have an impact on the Earth itself. And that's the nature of the project. So people that want to join it can go to glcoherence.org, become a member for free. You'll get emails explaining what to do and what we're doing and updates and things like that. And start participating in this as we unfold this grand experiment over the next year.